Welcome to another brand new episode of Undisputed Anime. This is the podcast where we like to give recommendations and reviews of some of the top anime movies, TV shows, and manga. Sometimes manga as well. I am your host, Zane Taicho, and as always, I am joined by my fantastic co-host, Mr. Susu Day. How are you, good sir?
You are always far too kind to me, Zane. Far too kind. At best, I'm the second best podcast host in the world, but
Oh wow, yeah.
clearly, with all that training that I've had in podcasts,
We've been doing this for a while now. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
And the reason that it works so well is we'd practically be having these conversations anyway, even if they weren't recorded.
This is very true. This is true. We've probably had these conversations most of our young adult lives.
Yeah, so why not? Label it, stick a bow on it, put it out there for
Exactly.
everyone else to enjoy.
Distribute it. Yeah. This is it. Now, before we get on with the rest of the news, I'd like to say a big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, which you can get 83% off and 3 months free if you go to surfshark.deals/undisputedanime and enter in the promo code undisputedanime, all one word. Surfshark VPN lets you trick your device into thinking it's in a different country, which opens up a whole world of content libraries. If you're in the UK, you could watch Japan Netflix, which will give you a far bigger selection of animes. If you're outside the UK, you could watch BBC iPlayer. And if you're in the US, you can finally get access back to the old WWE network. We've all been using Surfshark here at Undisputed Anime for a while, and it's our official VPN. And it doesn't just give you access to all the animes, it also secures your networks by encrypting internet traffic, keeping your location and download history private. Like my collection of shoujo mangas, which must be protected at all costs. My favourite feature for this is that Surfshark knows when my phone leaves a trusted connection, like my home or work internet, and it immediately turns on to prevent this interference. It's like having a JoJo's stand for your phone. To sign up to Surfshark today, by using our link in the video description below, surfshark.deals/undisputedanime, which you can get 83% off and 3 months free if you go to surfshark.deals/undisputedanime and enter in the promo code undisputedanime. We really appreciate it if you at least check them out, as they've been great company and we love working with them. Support Undisputed Anime and support your internet privacy with Surfshark. Today's episode, we will be talking about Stone Ocean. Not only giving you our impressions of part 2 that dropped on Netflix, but there's a little bit of controversy around this. I don't know if you're already aware of this, Susu Day, but I think it's going to be a subject to kind of mention.
It depends what you mean by controversy, but perhaps we'll save that little nugget.
There's the episode's hook. Yes, we'll save that for later. But before we do jump into our review and such, as always, going to give some anime news. I think it's been a while since we've covered some news, actually. Have you been keeping your finger on the pulse when it comes to some of the headlines that have been coming out?
You know me, not so much. I've been really busy lately.
Yeah.
It's been a real busy month for me. I obviously, as you know, I was on holiday, and then it was my wife's birthday. It's kind of been go for me of late. So I've not been keeping as close eye. I obviously know that there's a lot to look forward to next month.
Oh,
but
boy.
do enlighten me. Do enlighten me, Taicho.
Yeah, certainly. So, kicking things off, I'm going to date the podcast now, but earlier this week we got the first trailer for My Hero Academia season 6, which was all the hype. Uh, I'm excited for this. Obviously, we are big fans of My Hero Academia, um, and yeah, I think I'm hopeful that the anime. I know the anime is going to be great regardless. Like, I'm just kind of curious if there's going to be more of those sort of filler episodes that help set up the next movie.
Well, guess we'll see, won't we? Um, I'm gonna guess that just generally the hype has been intensified by the fact that I know that like the previous season was so divisive because
Mm,
obviously while I really enjoyed the villain arc, like I think
yeah,
that people want the heroes, don't they? They wanna continue the story of like Deku and One for All, don't they?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the other part as well is like with last season, not only was there airtime sacrificed to set up the movie, but the villain arc against Destro
Yeah.
was really short. Like they cut
Yeah, they
out,
really cut it right down, didn't they? It was,
yeah, bare bone sort of setup. And I think they left it at the end of the season instead of kind of it being in the middle. I think it was yourself and Ray who told me like with the manga it flows differently. And it
yeah,
wasn't till I read it I was like, oh yeah, it is completely different.
yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
like that. It's so much more in depth, and it's a shame that that like public obviously opinion
Mm.
caused the arc to kind of, because even in the manga the arc got shortened down because
Oh wow.
it's not what people wanted to see, apparently. Like like the popularity polls, I think that I don't have numbers, but I'm pretty sure
Mm.
that the My Hero Academia's like popularity scores in Shonen Jump went down during the arc. So I imagine that like the editors were kind of like, hey guy,
Yeah.
like we need to just so you know, people aren't really digging this as much as they're digging the other stuff. So I'm guessing, and you obviously can't just like, because it was I think by the time that would have happened, it was already like, this is something that needs to happen to set up
Mm.
the story that I'm building. But I think
Yeah.
that he had to kind of really shorten it right down to kind of get back, where it needed to be.
Wow. That's
So
interesting. I
don't
had
quote
no
me on
idea
that.
about
Don't
that.
quote me on that. I don't have any figures in front of me, but but I know that the based on, I think it was an interview that I read, that it got cut down. It was already obviously much longer than the anime, like
Mm.
adaptation of it, but like it got cut down because people weren't as like enamored by it.
Wow. Blimey. Um, just to move things along a little bit quickly, we've got news that Netflix are going to add 13 titles, uh, part of a TV deal with Nimpo TV. So this, well, just to kind of read you the article, this comes via Anime Network. Anime News Network. So Nimpo TV announced on Monday that they've entered a partnership with Netflix, which will add 13 of Nimpo TV's anime titles to the streaming platform Netflix. Will add the first 38 episodes of 2011's Hunter x Hunter, uh, which will be televised in 104 countries. Other animes to mention: Death Note Relight 1 and 2, From Me to You, From Me to You second season, 1997's Berserk, Parasite the Maximum,
Oh,
Nana, Monster, and Hajime no Impo, the fighting. So
okay.
some good titles in there, some classics, I would say, more than anything new gen. But how do you feel about this?
I'm gonna issue a warning right
Oh,
now for
yeah.
those who don't know. So if you make the choice to voyage into the title known as Nana, and
Mm.
you've never read the manga, you don't know what happened with that story, you're going in completely nowhere. Just go into it knowing
Hmm.
that you will be at the end of it, unfortunately and unintentionally left unsatisfied.
Oh, wow.
As a result of, unfortunately, the author passed away before they were able to complete it. So,
Oh, no.
um, so I know that my wife was big fan, and I believe that the manga ended right after something extremely like what is going to happen next
Yeah.
happens. So it's kind of like, so yeah. So just go into that knowing that you may come out of the other end with questions that aren't going to get answered.
That's a shame. Wow.
Unfortunately, I don't think it really had a berserk type situation where there was a close friend who had been conveyed all of the
Mm,
plans.
yeah. Oh,
So so yeah,
tough.
yeah,
Blimey.
tough. But yeah, that's my my public service announcement today. Just it's good. It's good. It's a
Mm.
lovely like slice of like darker slice of life. More adult themes, but you might come out of it not feeling as satisfied as you would like.
Oh, no. Um, well, I mean, the takeaway from this, at least Hunter x Hunter is going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal for a lot of people because
Yeah,
it's gotten even more popular in like recent years, for sure.
absolutely. So yeah, I keeping it short and sweet this week. That's all the news I wanted to kind of touch on before we get into JoJo Stone Ocean. Um, I guess first thing to kind of mention, this is part two we're going to mainly discuss today. If you haven't seen part one, I highly recommend pausing this review right now, go watch part one and part two, and then come back. Welcome
Yeah,
back.
probably be better. You don't want to no spoilers for people who weren't expecting spoilers. You gotta
Mm,
go and catch yourself up or sign the waiver that says that you are forfeiting your right to go spoiler free.
absolutely. So first of all, how did you rate this part two? Would you say it was undisputed or disputed?
Undisputed, absolutely.
Undisputed. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's JoJo at its finest.
Hmm.
Like it's got all of the whole formula of what makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure adventure um work and like be fun to watch.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, same. It was undisputed. Um, as always, David Production did a great job with the animation. Um, s- oh my god, the soundtrack and the sound effects more so
oh yeah,
were just on point. Really well done. Um, Here's a hot take that it did kind of fall apart for me in what and what I mean by that is that I feel like the last sort of two episodes were completely frustrating for me.
oh, why was that?
It just I really wanted to see Jolene fight Poochie, and especially like he found the I don't know what you would call it, like the baby sort of
Baby deal.
the baby Dio that was born out of a plant, and then it kind of insert this whole like fight with Mew Mew and Jailhouse, and I
Yeah,
was just kind of like, oh man, I guess it's kind of like a really good sort of tactic to keep us hooked in because it's like I want this part, I just need to get this out of the way just so I can see the main event, but it's just kind of like, oh, this is so frustrating.
no, I get that. I think that this might just be on. This is how I felt about it. Is like
Mm.
when I obviously finished part one and it was obviously
Hmm.
announced. I realized, oh well, there's gonna be a part two. I think
Mm.
that in that I kind of assumed that part two would be it. I
Yeah,
didn't actually ever consider for any moment that it would go into be another cliffhanger that would go into a part three. But
yeah,
then thinking back, Stardust Crusaders did the exact same thing. Like
yes,
and stuff. I think it like that was over the course of like 3 seasons, more or less, wasn't it?
yeah.
Or was it two
Yeah.
longer seasons? Like,
I'm gonna have a quick Google because, well, you are right. Like Stardust Crusaders could be almost seen as 3 parts, whereas I would say Golden Wind and Diamond is Unbreakable is possibly perceived as 2 parts.
Yeah, they had 2 parts, but they were like within the same like kind of were they within the same series? I can't even remember if they did it like 12 and 12.
I'm having a quick look now.
This is the kind of research that I meant to do prior to the show. You know, as I am a professional.
Let's have a look. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, here we go. Doing our research live while we record.
So Golden Wind.
39 episodes.
Yeah.
No, not that even. I'm seeing the overview and it only goes up to 39. So regardless.
But I got this.
Yeah, it's typically like they do the JoJo series go through their arcs. Like it was smaller scale in the first 2 seasons. Obviously, you had the story of JoJo growing up or Joseph growing up and meeting Dio and them growing up together, and then Dio obviously dying and becoming his true vampiric self, followed by JoJo or Joseph learning Hamon.
Yep.
And then going on his little journey to defeat Dio. Same with God, I always remember it was why do I always forget the name of the second season?
Battle Tendency.
Battle Tendency was all about it started off with like with a lot more low stakes, didn't it? Like him like kind of he was going around getting into mischief. There were obviously like vampires coming out of the woodworks, but then it became like, okay, it's the statue guys.
Yes, yeah, the Pillar Men sort of.
The Pillar Men, there we go. Statue guys. What am I talking about?
You're on the. I knew where you're going. You're on the right line. Yeah. So as you were just mentioning there, 39 episodes of Diamond is Unbreakable and Golden Wind was 39 episodes.
Yeah.
So JoJo Stardust Crusade, it's almost split into 2, and there's 24 of part 1, and there's 24 of part 2. So that would make it 48 episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is probably the longest out of all of them. But yeah, based on the last 2 JoJo adventures of 39 episodes, you're right. It would make sense that Stone Ocean gets 39 episodes as well.
Yeah. But I think because of Netflix, I think, and no one said that it was going to end with this part 2. That's the thing. Yeah. I think that I'm not sure if it's just because it was on Netflix and I just expected that there'd only be a part 1 and a part 2. That maybe that's why I felt the way I did when it finished. When I was like, I was so aghast. I was like, oh, this is like, because it got, it gets to the last episode and it's like, then it starts playing the trailer of the whole show. It's like,
yeah,
wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing, and I think this is where some of the controversies and a lot of discussion that's happened around Netflix's marketing when it came to part 2, because part 1 came out in December 2021. And now here we are in September of 2022, so nearly a whole year later. And the lead up to this, there's been barely any sort of marketing to kind of push it. Now, I know Netflix was pushing other things like Sandman and everything else, but the occasional tweet about Stone Ocean coming out in 5 days, or it was kind of really lackluster, and it just didn't really build the hype for it, sadly. And I think that's what's been a little bit of a detriment to the show and well, not so much a detriment. I think it's just a detriment to fan
Hype.
expectations.
Yeah, I think that the hype wasn't as there, in because like I watched it and like this is like the first time in a long time where I've literally something's come out and I've watched it so soon. Usually it's like you've got to like nag at me for like months and months and months to watch something. So on this occasion I actually got on it right away in order to be able to talk about it today.
Yeah.
And I did really enjoy it. And the thing is, I think I enjoyed part 2 more than I enjoyed part 1.
Oh, really?
But I think that's because by the end, obviously, you know, the end of part 1 was Jolene go to jail. She was obviously the victim of this big scheme to lure her father in, so that like the priest could get his stand and his memory disc.
Yeah.
And through that, obviously, Jolene obtains her stand. She learns how to use it. She starts to learn that not everything's what it seems. She like all this stuff happens. She forms the team. She starts realizing, actually, wait, you know what? Maybe my dad wasn't there, but he was doing all this stuff because he needed to. It's not because he wanted to be away.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of it, she obviously is able to obtain his. She's able to obtain Star Platinum and get that back to the Speedwagon Foundation, to her father. And now it's kind of like now when you go into part 2, like the stakes are much higher. She's been put into this like solitary confinement for like the most dangerous like prisoners on the island. And everything just seems like much more high stakes. Like the first couple of episodes went straight up. Like it was like
up the ante. Yeah,
really up the ante. And obviously you get to see more of Pale Snake's relationship with Dio as well in this. You get to see a lot more that, and so I've quite enjoyed seeing this kind of like it's really bizarre to say. You see this like softer side of Dio from the priest's memories. And stuff like that. Like you see them lying on a bed reading like magazines like they're like teenagers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny you should bring that point up, because it shows a level of Dio and a vulnerability as well, because there's that conversation where he says something along the lines of like, you could attack me, like, you know, I'm a vampire and I only come out at night, but you stay with me at night and you don't attack me during the day at my most vulnerable.
And you could steal my stands at any point and become you could become the king of the world. You could be like the strongest man in the world if you stole like the world from me. But you don't.
Yeah, it's really interesting that even Dio has a close friend, companion, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to Poochie and such. And Poochie obviously looks back at Dio in such high regard, and you know,
sees him as a god, doesn't he? So
so that's a really great point. I love how some of the smaller sort of stories add to the bigger story. So you know, the opening sort of first conflict we see is to do with the stand user, who I think his name's Sportsmaster, and he has this whole sort of stand to do with bringing things back to life. And Pale Snake tasked him with trying to bring back Dio with the bone, and it's kind of like those sort of breadcrumb moments that kind of lead to. I thought it was very, very ingenious.
Like I enjoyed like little moments like that, and that whole arc was like really cool because like that you know, that gave character development to a lot more characters. I loved everything they did with FF in this series. I really I've read most of the manga, but like I've not actually like really touched Stone Ocean at all. So all this is like kind of new to me, and I really love how they've taken the idea of this like kind of stand that was given to these plankton, like this massive plankton, to protect like Pale Snake's interests, and it's gone on to become like a core party member who is like, they just want to live, they want to like have memories and friends of their own, and like there were like so many occasions through this whole season where it's like, oh my god, they're gonna die, and I got really attached to them. And I was like,
Yeah.
of course. Last couple of seasons, they always do this. They always have everyone who is close to the main character JoJo die. They always do that. So I was like, oh no, FF's dead. Hermes is dead. Like weather
It, al-
forecast is dead. It's
it
like,
always shocks me as well. Like I always get taken back by it. Like you're right. There is a few sort of fake outs when it comes to FF.
yeah,
Um, when she boils alive because Whitesnake gives the disc
gives her
that.
another stand. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, that is terrifying. And then somehow she manages to survive, and then Whitesnake kills her again. I was just kind of like,
yeah.
and then we see like, no,
And then
she's
Anastasia saves them for long enough to retrieve Jotaro's memory
yeah,
disc from him before he died.
yeah,
And even
yeah,
now, I'm guessing it's like it's not alluded that he was obviously dying in that episode.
mm,
We've not seen him since that point, but I believe that it was mentioned that he's in the like intensive like care like medical
oh,
unit
yeah,
currently with Hermes, but we obviously don't see him again before the end of the season.
mm-hmm, yeah,
So
yeah. It was it was intense, and
yeah, it's a
that's
wild
one
ride.
thing I love it about it. Um, Again, even though I enjoy JoJo's, and it's been a long time since I've rewatched it. The how do I explain this? The hyper violence is always again shocking to me. Like
Yeah,
no matter how you look at it, no matter how it's like displayed from Golden Wind where there was a fish hook in someone's eyelid to this where some people had like acid dots in their faces and stuff. It
yeah,
was
just like
just
completely
like
hollowed out, like ah, that like Jolene's tongue was filled with holes and stuff like that.
yeah. It,
And what the plant was doing, like what the Deopod was doing, the bone was doing, it was like kind of like turning all those criminals into like horrific like plant
yeah,
blowers, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. That was again the visualization of it is just it throws
It
me
was
out.
very
Like,
good.
yeah, but it is
Tell
incredible.
you what, yeah, I'll tell you what. This we're kind of like jumping all over the place here, but how did you feel about the big twist in the last couple of episodes? In that you obviously FF obviously is dying and stuff like that.
Hmm.
They managed to get away because weather forecast is awake again, and he makes it
Yeah,
rain so that they can get away. And then in the following episode, you're like, oh my god, the gang's all together, it's fine. And then you find out that weather forecast wasn't actually there; it was actually Pale Snake disguised as weather forecast, and he murders them all like in a single like action. He
yeah.
kills everybody.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
I didn't see it coming.
Complete like hands on my head moment.
Mm.
Yeah, it was insane. And then to just kind of the follow up from that, which was Poochie having these new power set and such, and a new form where he's got like slightly long hair or something. I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
bit
he's
bit
like
weird.
the baby Dio has. So I'm not sure whether it's a situation where he has consumed, like the baby Dio has consumed him and assumed his form and his like memories and stuff like that, and or whether it's
Oh,
that he consumed the baby Dio.
right.
I get the feeling it's probably the prior because obviously when he reached out to the baby Dio, it ate his arm.
Hmm.
But it's like I'm guessing we'll get in the first couple of episodes. We'll probably get of part 3. We'll get a couple of flashbacks alluding to
I hope
that.
I hope so because already the new power display where he helps that lady with the eggs,
Mm.
and somehow the eggs kind of like are like half developed chicks.
Yeah. So my theory here, as someone who's not like finished reading the manga or anything like that, is that his new stand power is one that is the polar opposite to Star Platinum in the WoD, where instead of
Ah,
stopping time,
yeah.
it it advances time. Because when he touched that woman on the hand, her nails grew
Yes.
and stuff like that. And obviously, he touched the eggs, and the eggs developed into like partially developed chicks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah.
like I think that he's got like the power, because I was expecting that what was going to happen is that they were going to use that old power again. They're like, oh well, it's going to turn it into another battle between like the world and Star Platinum,
Mhm.
because only by stopping time can you survive stopping time and stuff. So I'm interested to see what they do with this now, because obviously it's a different power.
This is true. I mean, it is another time-based one. I'm not
Yeah,
going to complain. It works. Like, I love how it's always some sort of weird time-based villain power. But yeah, you're
yeah,
right. It'd be interesting to see how it works and such. The other thing I'm really looking forward to, thanks to TikTok, is the Made in Heaven like shout. Like that's what I was really hoping to see by the end of this. But
yeah.
obviously,
They
we're
they
gonna have
they've
to wait
done
a little
such a good
while.
job. They've done such a good job with actually kind of. I feel like by watching it, I'm feeling more hyped for part 3, because they've not actually truly like stated what his plan is.
Mm.
We know that he's trying to get to heaven.
Hmm.
But that's all he's saying, and we don't actually know what he means by that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like what's this entail, that we're going to get another like 12 episodes?
Yes. Yes. On the subject of part 3, again, the biggest question coming out of this is, when are we getting part 3? How long is part 3 going to be? As we're recording this, there hasn't been any official word from Netflix or David Productions. But the speculation is that the Blu-ray box set is supposed to is meant to be released around the sort of May springtime of 2023.
Okay.
So we should be getting part 3 somewhere between now and then, because normally it's streamed before it goes to Blu-ray.
Okay, that's that's some food for thought,
Mm.
isn't it?
Yeah, so
Um,
fingers crossed. Hopefully, it will happen, say, between now and December.
God, I
Um,
hope so.
yeah, I really hope so too. Um, but yeah, it's again, I'm kind of frustrated that with Netflix sort of distribution of this, because comparing it to other sort of anime that have been on Netflix, Baki and even the new Tekken series, they've had either the full episodes or something like Uncle from Another World and Blue Period were released weekly per episode,
Yeah,
just to keep the, you know,
the hype going. Yeah,
yeah, where
it kind of
now it,
it kind of feels a lot like Netflix knows that that a JoJo series is going to be hugely popular. I mean, the fact that they acquired it in the first place indicates
mm,
to me that they knew that that it's going to do well.
yeah,
Um, but it's kind of like one of those situations of like, because they know people are gonna, because now they hold the monopoly in the West
mm,
on this show. Well,
yeah,
they own the monopoly in the world, because they obviously they funded it. Is that so? Like no other streaming service has it.
that's true, yeah.
So it's like, no, you can't get it anywhere else. They know that people are going to come and watch it. They don't really need to market it, other than to say, hey, it's here.
I suppose, yeah, that's a point actually, because yeah, it does have such a what's the word I'm looking for? Not fond, devoted like following.
Yeah,
You're right. Like they
people
were
will
always.
come.
Mm, it's almost
So
like as if they had. Can you imagine if they had like the rights on Dragon Ball?
yeah, like it would be absolutely insane. Which is why it's like so. Which is why I guess to me it's so not controversial, problematic in a way that they've obviously. I don't know if there's actually been any more talk about this, or if it's actually been confirmed yet. But obviously there was the talk about Disney Plus acquiring the rights to Bleach
Yeah.
and stuff. Is like, it kind of feels like what they're doing now is these big companies are trying to like acquire like the monopoly on these like big brands
Hmm.
by making sure that there's nowhere else you can watch it other than on their service. It's like,
Yeah, exclusivity is a huge deal now, especially
Yeah,
for franchises that have been around for over 15 years. Both of these are over 15 years old, Bleach
yeah,
and JoJo. So they're going to have a devoted fan base already. It's
yeah,
just getting that exclusivity, isn't it? To get
yeah.
that number and that bag.
Get that number, get that dollar. Going back onto Stone Ocean, obviously I
Mm,
rated it as undisputed. There were two things that annoyed me though.
okay.
One of them
Mhm.
was, and this is probably was made worse by the fact that I frequent places like TikTok for like funny anime content. Is that there's obviously that JoJo meme that goes about every now and then. It's like, be careful, guys. There's an enemy stand user around here. Like, who could it be? And then it shows like a regular person, then someone dressed all flamboyantly and stuff like that. It's like, who could it be? In the scene where in the fight club was about to start, they obviously released all the other prisoners in the penitentiary.
Mhm.
There was a woman who was there who was clearly dressed like a stand user. I was like, I saw her, I was like, she's absolutely a stand user. She fits
Yeah.
the bill. She's got a much more unique character model than everyone else here. She has to be an enemy stand user, and we didn't see her again. For,
Yeah.
for, it's, from what I can understand, she's probably a tree now. um, um, the other thing that annoyed me,
Yeah.
and this is a very minor thing, is that I think there were 2 or 3 occasions where between episodes it felt like it had skipped over something, and I'm not sure whether it was because of Netflix's skip function, whether something in the preview
Oh,
actually
right.
went on to continue what happened in the previous episode, but because of the way they put the skip in, it skipped over it. Because there were a couple of occasions, like between the Fight Club ending and them fighting that Feng Shui guy,
Mhm.
and obviously then they came in contact with the tree pod and stuff like that, and like Jolene was infected with the spores and whatnot. It feels like there's a period that was missed out where FF was left to find the stand user when they left
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I feel like there was bits in that was kind of like jumped over. It's either that or I fell asleep. Who can say? I don't think I fell asleep. But in the same way, I think there was another position as well where something like that happened, where it felt like they skipped over something, maybe just like 30 seconds
Mhm.
where something was said, where I
You're
think that
you're right. No, you are right. There's sadly the 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 unique skip function has, yeah, made you miss potentially made you miss certain bits. So for example, there are a couple of scenes after the credits
hmm,
of each episode. So and sometimes
I've missed a lot then.
it doesn't sometimes the skip button doesn't come up, and it will just play the full sort of end credits, and then you'll have 30 seconds of scenes like you say, um or as you mentioned, there's a recap, and they've put recap button in, and then you can skip intro, so then you're already like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes into that episode.
I've been
so
damned by Netflix. Yeah,
so the
why would you
perfect
do me like that?
UI the perfect UI can be detrimental in the overall experience.
You really did it. Really did it this time, Netflix. I'm not happy. I'm very cross. So your controversy,
Mm,
um, possibly different to mine.
yeah,
A lot different to mine, I imagine. The controversy that I've been seeing about this is the fact that Stone Ocean did not get a completely new, unique opening sequence.
that's funny you should mention. I've seen one or two, yeah, mention this. Go on. How do you feel about it? Do you feel cheated about that?
I don't feel cheated by it because I think that the opening sequence is really good, and
Hmm.
also I think that I watched it like most times because I like the song,
Yeah,
and I think that they made enough changes to it
yeah.
to kind of show how things have advanced. Like obviously, in the original opening sequence, the opening ended with Jolene like standing against the bars
Yes.
and stuff like that. And this one ends like it shows like kind of how her mentality's changed, because now her goal is to like get back to her dad and stuff like that. And you obviously see like her like embracing Jotaro at the end. You obviously see all of her like friends that she's made and stuff. And there's little changes made to it that I think were like really good. So I don't feel slighted by the fact there wasn't an entirely new opening sequence.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the subtle changes to an existing opening. And we spoke about this before off stream, but my two favorites are the Diamond Unbreakable opening sequence, where a lot of the characters are seen in heaven, like looking down at Miro Town. So not to get too much into it, but there's like points where certain characters do die, and they then move. It's a JoJo. Their place in the opening sequence changes from not being there to being like looking down at Miro in the clouds and stuff, which is very, very nice. And then something similar with Golden Wind, which was my favorite opening is that there's the point where Giorno takes the arrowhead, and then there's another version where everything slows down and like the ground crumbles and it goes to like starry sort of, and you see Diablo walk around Giorno.
Yes.
There's like two versions of it, and that is like the most hype moment for me.
They did the same thing as well for Stardust Crusade, or not Stardust Crusade, part 2 of Stardust Crusaders, where originally at the end of that second opening sequence, Dio freezes time and he walks towards Jotaro, and then time unfreezes and stuff like that. And then later on in the series, once Jotaro realizes, I think it's only the last couple of episodes, when Jotaro realizes that Star Platinum's got the same power, it changes so that Star Platinum comes out and and like undoes it and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think I know what you mean. Yeah. So I guess like it's not anything new or crazy compared to the older ones. But I'm cool with it. I like the subtle changes, because it's those subtle changes, like you say, that kind of shows the character development and where they are in the story and such.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All good stuff. All good stuff.
Whew. I feel like we've unbagged a lot there.
We absolutely have. It's been a good one, and it feels good because it's like I said, I finished watching it this morning, so it's kind of like I'm like absolutely like raring to go. I was ready to go. So
fantastic. But we would love to know what your thoughts were of Stone Ocean, especially so far with part 2. So let us know in the comment section down below. As always, you can find us on all our social media, including, our email address, undisputedanime@gmail.com. Make sure to send us an email of your thoughts as well, as we love to read them on the show.
Absolutely.
Mr. Susude, it's been a pleasure as always.
I bows. I am bowing.
For the long-time listeners, we've got a lot of projects going at the moment, so make sure to use the links in the description down below. We've got a special episode coming up soon with Ashton from Giant Shooty Robots, with his 5 mech recommendations, or mecha anime recommendations. So make sure to subscribe so you know when that episode drops. And yeah, all sorts of projects and videos coming. So again, make sure to check out, subscribe to the channel, and we will no doubt catch you soon.
Fantastic.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and take care of yourselves and each other.
Important message. That.